Hi, my name is Edward Vandenberg. I'm better known by my YouTube name Machismo, and I've been vegan for over 4 years now. The date of this video is October the 12th, 2019. In the last 2 years of my journey, vegans as a whole have experienced a lot of, let's call it anti-vegan propaganda. One thing in particular is the concept of end-stage veganism, which is basically the false notion that eventually veganism will deplete all of our nutrient stores that can only be filled by meat. Often red meat in particular, because apparently the almost shamanistic idea of eat what you're made of craze still exists. I say that this is a false notion because I believe there's nothing in meat particular that a healthy person couldn't get from plants, B12 included. But that's a very different topic. I've taken a vast interest in animal-based nutrition for the past 2 years, and I've read many papers, books, studies and theories in favor of ideas that counter my own, almost from a perspective of know thy enemy, but also to see if there really is something noteworthy to say. For me is to come to the conclusion that we should eat animal products, that those should be an actual necessity. But the only thing I can find where the carnivores have a point would be DHA and EPA. To say veganism is inherently deficient in any other nutrient simply because it lacks meat, it seems to be an absurd notion not ingrained in any sovereignty, but either in emotional and delusional dogma or in more understandable lack of knowledge. And it is understandable. The study of all of these nutrients is a very complex topic, and I do not wish to discuss any of that right now, simply because it is so much information to go over. But again, I can give the carnivores credit where credit is due, and there is something to be said for DHA and EPA. Some arguments against veganism are easier to understand, such as B12, vitamin D, zinc, iron. These are topics where carnivores can certainly make a case, and even I will say that there is a grey area here. But anti-vegans usually take this discussion to heights of pure absurdity. They talk about end-stage veganism in the context of protein deficiency, a notion that has been debunked for decades now. I have even seen some carnivores mention that vegans are copper and vitamin C deficient. This is truly an attestament to how removed from reality some of these people really are. You could say that according to carnivores, virtually no nutrient is obtainable on a plant-based diet. Even the nutrients that we know vegans can have in excessive amounts. It seems like the carnivores are on a Gish Gallop Royale. And when I look at the carnivore dogma, or more particularly the anti-vegan dogma, and I see how far their knowledge about nutrition really goes, about their own nutrition as well, I realize that these people are shooting themselves in the foot. Already am I observing what we almost saw a decade ago, with people going on low-fat vegan diets. It's an endless cycle being on this healing journey, but it seems for many nothing really ever happens. They never solve the problems, and they keep blaming whatever lingering issues they have on their past experiences. Some take their newfound diet to spiritual heights. It will take many of its members years to understand that this was never the answer either. This is a problem with movements that are based on ego, and the same can be said about veganism for sure. And hey, I'm not biased here. I do not believe humans, or really any animal, is 100% vegan in nature. Humans are omnivores. They can absolutely eat meat to some extent without problems. It can even be beneficial under specific circumstances. However, we are not hypercarnivores either. Again, these are topics for other videos, but I do want to address that I am unbiased about several subjects regarding nutrition, and the nutrition war that comes along with it. I differ with many in that I do not hold an emotional attachment to veganism. I'm sure some carnivores will ree and want to attack these points, but again, for now I'm just addressing a few common discussion topics and how I think about them in the context of the so-called malnourishment caused by veganism. Now, let's finally address the real topic of this video. End-stage veganism. I deliberately gave it to myself. It wasn't easy. I wasn't sure if I was ever going to contract it at all. It took months after changing my protocol with one single thing before I noticed things were going south. So the common symptoms of end-stage veganism are loss of muscle mass, loss of energy, dry hair, dry skin, graying skin, loss of mental clarity, oh, and bad lighting. 80% of end-stage veganism is caused by bad lighting and selective journalism. Well, when I compare myself to a year ago, I think we can agree that I fit that bill. To some extent I have dry skin, dry and damaged hair, loss of muscle mass, and my energy isn't as stable as it used to be. I do not experience the same mental clarity as before. Also, I do try to stuff myself to stay on weight, but I have lost little over 20 pounds now. And I'm rarely hungry, and hunger has been diminishing over the months. If this keeps up, I probably lose weight until I'm about 130 pounds. Boy oh boy, veganism sure did a number on me. Go ahead and clasp your hands in joy, carnivores. Ooh, a vegan losing his health. That's the only thing that still released some dopamine in my brain since going carnivore. However, do remember, unlike other vegans, I did this on purpose. But why? Why would I try to deliberately put myself in such a situation? Because anti-vegans don't listen. It has been said innumerable times that yes, you can mess up your diet as a vegan. And all vegans get from that notion, that often comes from a place of hard sobriety, is childish ridicule from wannabe alpha carnivores.
Vegans will always claim, oh, he didn't do the diet right.
It is as if us carrot chewers are saying the most dogmatic thing ever when we point out Jaden Smith was doing it wrong because he was freaking eating 800 calories a day.
That it had nothing to do with the vegan diet, just that he wasn't getting enough protein and that he was skipping meals.
Oh, had he eaten 800 calories of meat a day, he would have been like Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger. Well, sure, all of us carnivores look like any other average skinny guy you see on the street, but everyone but us would have been the exception. So unfortunately, to show these spoiled children what's really going on, we need an example. And not everyone can be that example. It will take someone who has put thousands of hours studying and reading up on nutrition over the last 6 years, who has some clue beyond the current existing dogma about what to do. I think that I can be that example. I think that I can disprove anti-veganism not only in the follow-up of this video, but many more. And besides, I already reversed end-stage veganism once. This was me on a low-fat vegan diet, and here's me on a medium-fat diet a few months later, still vegan. But that's not enough evidence, now is it? End-stage veganism, to me, these symptoms of dry skin, buggy eyes, sunken eyes, damaged hair, lifelessness, mood swings, loss of mental clarity, uncontrollable weight loss. It never seemed to me like a problem caused by 15 different nutrients. No, I suspected that it could be caused by one. And it's not one of the usual players. This nutrient is never named by carnivores. And actually, it's very likely that most carnivores lack optimal amounts of this nutrient as well. However, they won't have the same problems with a deficiency. Simply because a low sugar diet changes your metabolism. You can mask symptoms of a deficiency by changing your metabolism. But that doesn't mean that you're solving the problem. But I will do more on that in the follow-up video. This hypothesis, I'm not going to reveal which nutrient I think is the culprit, but after not consuming this nutrient for almost 10 months, I am going to introduce it again, and we are going to see if I can reverse my so-called end-stage veganism. I'm going to give myself 3 months for this, which seems to be the average time for an ex-vegan to experience so-called health benefits on a carnivore diet. So if I'm not solving 80% of my problems by then I will go back to eating meat. Because if I cannot reverse the bulk of my issues in that time, the case would be clearly so that veganism were to fail me. However, it's my assumption that it will take about a month to reverse most of my issues, which would be way quicker than what so-called severely malnourished ex-vegans achieve, when they go back to eating meat, mind you. There's certainly a chance that I'm wrong. If that's the case, then this will be a very ironic video. But what carnivores call obvious signs of veganism, I see them as a far more common problem, which we have known about for a very long time. If my hypothesis is true, then it's a huge dent in the anti-vegan movement. I dare say we are now in a period which will mark the beginning of the end of the anti-vegan movement. Am I right on this? Let's find out, shall we?